Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy, and I need to share something deeply personal about my family. How I learned that sometimes the people closest to us can be the most toxic. I'm a 33-year-old interior designer living in Boston. My life seemed perfect not long ago. A thriving career, a beautiful 6-year-old daughter named Emma who lights up my world, and a husband, James Reynolds, who I thought was everything I'd ever wanted. We met 5 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, successful in real estate development, and seemed like the perfect match. Within a year, we were married, living in a stunning home in Brookline, and I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. Even his mother, Patricia, welcomed me with open arms. "You've brought such joy to our family, dear," she said warmly during our first meeting. If only I'd known that her sugary words were masking something much darker. The first red flag came at Emma's 5th birthday party. I planned a magical princess-themed celebration, complete with decorations, games, and everything a little girl could dream of. Patricia strolled in, her eyes scanning the room with barely hidden disapproval. "Oh, wouldn't it have been nicer with a more sophisticated theme?" she mused. "Children need proper guidance. When James was young, I always ensured his parties were educational." Later, I met Sarah Chen, my sister-in-law, who pulled me aside. "Don't let her get to you," she whispered. "She did the same thing at my daughter's party last month." "Does she always try to control everything?" I asked, half joking. Sarah gave me a knowing look. "You have no idea. Just wait until she starts comparing you to James's ex." Sunday dinners quickly became a battlefield of subtle digs and unwelcome advice. Patricia would serve her famous roast while slipping in her critiques. "Emma seems a bit unfocused at the table, dear," she'd say with a tight smile. "Perhaps you should consider stricter discipline." In my day, James's business partner, Cooper, often looked visibly uncomfortable around Patricia, muttering cryptic remarks like, "Something's not right with that woman." To escape the stress, Emma and I created our own traditions. Saturday became our day: pancake breakfasts, park visits, and craft projects. But the tension never truly stayed away. "Mommy, can we skip Grandma's dinner tomorrow?" Emma would ask. I couldn't blame her. Patricia's remarks became sharper with each visit. "Don't you want to be a good student like your cousin?" she'd say to Emma. Then, turning to me, "Tracy, perhaps you should reconsider your parenting approach." James would sit there silently, scrolling on his phone. Later, he'd shrug it off. "She means well." But I noticed how he changed when he was around her, more critical, more distant. Sarah confided in me again over coffee last week. She tried to convince my husband I was overspending on the kids. She even brought him bank statements. Can you believe it? I started documenting everything: her comments, her interference, her subtle undermining, because something darker was surfacing. Patricia's perfectly polished exterior was cracking, and I was beginning to see the manipulative force beneath. The tipping point came at last month's Easter dinner. Patricia accidentally spilled red wine all over my new design portfolio, the one I needed for an important client meeting the next day. "Oh, you're still doing that little decorating thing," she said dismissively. "I thought you focused more on family by now." She didn't even attempt to help clean up. James barely looked up from his phone. "Mom didn't mean it, Tracy. You're being too sensitive again." But it wasn't just me. At Sarah's son's birthday party, I overheard Patricia gossiping to other mothers. "Poor James. I worry about Tracy's stability. She's been so erratic lately. Did you know she takes medication for her nerves? I've never taken anxiety medication in my life." Then came the dinner that changed everything. Emma, excited about her school art project, was chatting away at the table. "Sweetheart, please sit still," I said gently. "She's disrupting dinner." Patricia snapped. Turning to James, she barked, "Your daughter needs discipline." Before I could respond, Patricia grabbed Emma's arm and marched her downstairs. The sound of the basement door locking sent chills down my spine. "She needs to learn," Patricia said coldly, pocketing the key. "This is how we handled James when he misbehaved," Patricia said with a chilling smile, her words hanging heavy in the air. Below us, Emma's cries echoed from the basement. "Where's my mommy?" she sobbed. I bolted from my chair. "Give me the key, now." "You're being hysterical, Tracy," James said, his tone clipped, as if I were the one out of line. Patricia waved a hand dismissively. "Emma was just playing down there," she claimed later, after I'd already called the police. Stop making a scene. That night, while James was in the shower, his phone lit up with messages from Patricia. One caught my eye. We need to handle the situation before she ruins everything. Remember what happened with Rachel? We can't let that happen again. I've already spoken to Dr. Harrison about getting her evaluated. My hands shook as I read those words. Who was Dr. Harrison? What had happened with Rachel? The next day, James pulled me aside at work. His expression was grave. Tracy, listen carefully. Something's not right with the company finances. Patricia's name is on documents she shouldn't be involved with. Be careful. What do you mean? He hesitated. Last time someone questioned her involvement, they were forced to resign under serious allegations. What kind of allegations? The kind that ruin careers and families. Watch your back. Patricia has friends in high places. I didn't have long to process his warning. That night, I overheard James on the phone. Yes, Mother. I understand. Tracy won't be a problem much longer. Emma still has nightmares about the basement. She wakes up crying, clutching me, whispering, "Don't let Grandma take me." This isn't just about control anymore. Something bigger, something darker, is unfolding, and I need to uncover it before it's too late. The first step was digging deeper. After the basement incident, Sarah invited me to a quiet cafe, far from prying eyes. Rachel, she said, lowering her voice. James' ex-fiancé. She didn't actually have an affair. Patricia set the whole thing up, hired a guy to fake photos. I found out through my husband's old emails. My stomach turned. How do you know all this? Because she tried the same thing with me. Said if I didn't give up my job, some compromising photos might just happen to find their way to my husband. I decided to play Patricia's game. I accepted her insincere apology about the basement and pretended to make peace. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator. The results were shocking. Your mother-in-law visits your office building regularly when you're not there, the investigator reported. She's been meeting with your biggest clients. Within a week, 3 clients canceled their contracts. We heard you're having personal problems, they said awkwardly. The walls were closing in, but James surprised me by calling a secret meeting at a diner outside of town. His hands trembled as he slid a USB drive across the table. Tracy, it's all here, he whispered. Patricia's been using my company to launder money. Those luxury condos downtown, they're fake projects. The money's coming from somewhere else. And you? I asked, dreading the answer. I sign whatever she puts in front of me, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Always have. But it's not just me. She's doing this to everyone in the family. I reached out to James's sister, Amanda, at her yoga studio. Her eyes filled with tears. She controls everything, Amanda said. My business loan? It's actually my inheritance, but she made me sign papers saying I owe her. She's done the same to David and Lisa. As I dug through old records, I discovered a history of domestic violence complaints against Patricia, all mysteriously dropped. Keep playing nice, Sarah advised. Document everything. So I did. I started wearing a discreet recorder to every family gathering. Last Sunday, I hit gold. Really, James, Patricia said, not knowing I was just around the corner. Once we get rid of her like we did Rachel, everything will go back to normal. The company can't afford questions right now. But Emma, she'll forget about her mother eventually, just like you forgot about your father after I sent him away. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. James's father hadn't abandoned them, as Patricia always claimed. What had she done to him? The more I uncovered, the more sinister her schemes became. Regulators were starting to notice her sloppy mistakes. James showed me documents Patricia had tried to force him to sign, backdated contracts, and falsified statements. In his office, I found evidence she'd been stealing from her other children's trusts for years. She'd even forged James's signature to gain power of attorney over Emma's college fund. We're all trapped, Amanda confided. She has dirt on everyone. I stared at my phone, another missed call from Patricia lighting up the screen. It was time to spring the trap. Of course, I'll come to dinner Sunday, Mother, I said, my voice as sweet as honey. I think it's time we all had a nice, long family chat. But dinner wasn't where I planned to end this. Patricia's annual charity gala, the crown jewel of her social calendar, would be the perfect stage. Everyone who mattered in Boston society would be there. her country club friends, business associates, and the very people she had spent years manipulating. "So glad you could make it, dear," Patricia said, her signature pearls gleaming under the chandeliers. Her smile was all too confident. "James tells me you've been much more cooperative lately." Little did she know, the entire family was ready to take her down. James, Sarah, Amanda, David, and even Rachel, James' ex-fiancé, were in position. It was showtime. Patricia took the stage, her voice smooth and commanding as she launched into a speech about family values and integrity. That was Amanda's cue. Speaking of family, Amanda interrupted, standing up from her seat. "Let's talk about how you stole our inheritances." She held up a stack of documents. "I have the real ones right here." Patricia's smile froze. "Amanda, dear, you're confused." "No, Mother," David interjected, rising to his feet. "We've seen the proof. Every so-called loan you gave us was stolen from our trust funds." Sarah stepped forward next, holding up her phone. "Shall I play the recording of you threatening to frame me for an affair? Or maybe the one where you admit to hiring someone to stalk Rachel?" Patricia lunged for Sarah's phone, but James was already plugging his laptop into the projector. "Your attention, please," he announced to the stunned crowd. "These documents show years of fraud at Reynolds Development. My mother has been using the company to launder money, funneling millions into her own accounts." Gasps rippled through the room as Rachel emerged from the crowd. "Is this also ridiculous, Patricia?" she said, her voice steely. "Like how you faked photos of me cheating? Or how about we discuss what really happened to James's father?" Pandemonium broke out. Patricia's carefully curated world crumbled before her eyes. Her country club friends backed away in disgust as police officers entered the room, escorted by SEC agents James had already tipped off. "You ungrateful little," Patricia hissed at me, venom dripping from every word. "I'll destroy you like you destroyed your husband." Smiling coldly, I reached into my bag and pressed play on my recorder. Her voice echoed through the room. "Once we get rid of her, everything will go back to normal. Emma will forget about her mother, just like James forgot about his father after I sent him away." The truth about James's father finally came to light, and Patricia's empire crumbled under the weight of her crimes. 1 year later, life looks completely different now. My design firm is thriving, expanding into New York, and Emma's nightmares have all but vanished with the help of therapy. She loves her new school, her smile bright and unafraid. Patricia, on the other hand, is facing multiple lawsuits from enraged investors. Her assets are frozen, her once gilded reputation is ruined, and her social circle has abandoned her. Last I heard, she's living in a tiny apartment, utterly alone. James lost everything in our divorce. The SEC investigation revealed he had knowingly participated in Patricia's schemes, signing off on fraudulent deals for years. After serving a brief sentence, he moved to Ohio, working at his cousin's car dealership. Yesterday, I received a tear-streaked letter from Patricia. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I didn't read past the first line. I shredded it and tossed it into the trash. "Mommy, can we get ice cream?" Emma asked this morning, her eyes sparkling. "Of course, baby," I said, looking around our peaceful new home. Surrounded by true friends like Sarah and Amanda, I felt a deep sense of peace. We'd done it. We were free. The best revenge wasn't just exposing Patricia's lies or seeing her empire fall. It was this: happiness, success, and a life completely free from toxic people. Patricia, she's just a cautionary tale now, one I tell other women when we talk about trusting our instincts. Sometimes the only way to win is to walk away and let karma do the rest. Would you have exposed Patricia immediately, or would you have played the long game like I did to bring her entire empire crashing down? Let me know in the comments.